Right. Okay, yeah. Morning, everybody. This is Adrian from WatchGuard. Thank you for taking the time for joining me today. Today, we're going to be looking at application control. So that's going to be layer 7 inspection on the firewall. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever played around with something like this before, but in my opinion, this is one of the coolest things on any firewall. It gives you great control over any applications on people's machines which require internet access. Okay, so let's go ahead and start configuring this. So I've got my dummy config in front of me at the moment. If I go up to the subscription services menu, I have application control. Now in here we have a built-in global template, and if I edit this, we have a list here of about 1,500 applications. Now what I can do is I can clone them and I can create new ones as well, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail in a minute. Before you start configuring anything to do with the policy itself, the first thing you're going to want to do is come into the update server section down here, and you're going to want to make sure you have IPS and app control ticked. Now in theory you probably already do have that ticked, but definitely come in here and check, in fact, check everything is ticked, if I'm honest. Make sure everything is set to update every hour. That way, if any applications change, maybe Facebook changes how they post or something like that, every hour we'll pull down the latest signature updates for every application. Okay, so let's have a little play. We've got our actions, we have a global template in here. So let's edit this one. So as I said, we have about 1,500 applications in this list. Now, you wouldn't go through these one at a time because you would be here forever. So what we do is you make it very, very easy for you to configure. The first thing we can do is go select by category. This way I can look at all of the different application categories. Now chances are you know that you don't want any BitTorrent or any peer-to-peer on your network. So I can simply tick this and I can now choose to drop any application which matches BitTorrent or peer-to-peer traffic. I may choose to do the same for things like the anonymous proxies like UltraSurf and TinyVPN. So again, I can just say knock out the entire category of applications. The second option is we can choose the category that you want to monitor or edit. So let's go down to things like BitTorrent. So here's a list of all of the peer-to-peer engines that we have currently in our signature set. I can now choose to go through this list and action each of these applications individually. So for example, here's BitTorrent. If I edit BitTorrent, I could just drop it. Or if I wanted, what I could do is actually change the behavior for the specific actions. So for example, I could be quite cruel and mean, and I could say, well, yeah, okay, I'll let you use BitTorrent. So you open up the BitTorrent on the machine. You're going to get the little green tick in the corner to say everything's working. It's going to get all of its seed and peer information. But then I'm going to be mean, and I'm just going to tick that. So now BitTorrent engine isn't going to send and receive any data, and that's going to keep the client on their machine scratching their head for a very long time trying to work out why BitTorrent's not actually working. And we can do a similar thing for pretty much any application, right? So that's all my BitTorrents in here. As I said, I can edit those individually. But if I put this back up to all, the third option we have is to search. Now, this is probably my preferred way of doing it. So for example, I could say there's everything Apple, and I can go through and find what I need there. I could do the same for everything Google. So perhaps I don't want you using Google Chrome as a browser. Now Google Chrome won't work. What else have we got in here? Everything you can think of. Yahoo, if I could type, there we go. Yahoo. Skype is always a favorite as well, right? So I can do a similar thing here with Skype. I can say, not a problem, I will let you get to Skype. Authority means to log in. So I'm going to say I'll let you log into Skype. So now at this point, you can use Skype as a messenger service. And again, if I tick media, I'm now going to prevent any files from being sent or received through Skype. So this is good in two ways. Firstly, it means you're not going to receive any viruses. You know, we all get those friend requests and what have you through Skype. So if I drop this, nobody can send you anything with a virus in it. And the other advantage of this as well is it means if somebody's trying to export any company information using Skype, it won't be able to, because we will block any file transfer via Skype. So I like that one. That one's pretty good. As I say, everything you can think of is in here. The more commonly used the application, the more controls you get over it. So for example, everybody's favorite application in the world, is Facebook. And we can do a similar thing in here. So I'm going to be nice and I'm going to say, well, okay, I'll let you access Facebook and I'll let you log in like so. But what I'm now going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to select all of these different options here, edit, drop. There we go. Facebook is now read only. You can't like, post, use the messenger. You can't do anything. You can get onto Facebook, you can see what's happening, but if you try and do anything else, it simply won't work. So that's the kind of controls we can do using application control. Now, something to make you very aware of. This option down here, I've spoken to a number of people who have changed this and then realized why everything's broken. And let me explain why. So let's clear this first of all. Okay. When an application does not match, it is allowed. Now that basically means if an application hasn't been either explicitly allowed or denied, it would be allowed. So in other words, if it's undefined, it's allowed. So at the moment you see in my action column, all of these applications we see here have nothing here. They are undefined, therefore they are allowed. If I change this to drop, I am now blocking every single application which I haven't specifically allowed. So pretty much 1,000, how many did I change? 3 or 4 applications? So almost 1,500 applications are now blocked. And you might think, well, that's okay. We'll just allow the applications that we actually need. Okay, well, here's the problem. Here's some things you haven't thought about. DNS is an application. HTTP is an application. Your browser is an application. Oh, and guess what? The WatchGuard management is applications as well. So you've got to be very careful here, because if I blocked this down here like that, I could potentially kick myself out of my own firewall. So this is a very powerful tool. It's good fun and you can use it to really restrict people, but it's a very powerful tool and you could very easily kick yourself out of the firewall. So the only times I've ever seen people have this down here as drop is if this is a firewall being used in like a Ministry of Defense or a government situation where they choose to block everything and then only allow very specific applications through. In day-to-day businesses like what you and I work for, you would leave that to allow and you would block only the applications that you want to block. So this is another little feature up here, by the way. By default, we're showing all applications and you just search for what you want. But if I tick this here, it's only going to show me the applications which I have edited. So here's my Facebook at read-only, my BitTorrent, Skype, and so on. So that's a kind of a handy thing there for you. Okay, so there's my applications. Now what do I do? So all I've done really is I've created a template and I've told it to block some stuff. So what do I do with this template? So I've got 2 options. I can come in here to my policies tab and here is all of my rules in my rule base, and I can select the rule and I can tell it to use that template which I just created. Or I can go into a particular rule this way by editing a rule, and then down here we have application control, and again I can tick it and tell it to use that template which I've just created. Now, something to think about, application control is layer 7 and it is not port dependent. So what I've noticed a lot of people do is they will put their application control on port 80 and port 443. You actually need to do it on more than that. I would advise that you assign your application control template to every outbound policy that you have. And this is very, very important. A quick story. There's a number of airports, obviously, over here in the UK, one of them being Heathrow. Now, Heathrow Airport, if you go there and you try to join their Wi-Fi, they charge you money. But what I've noticed is they don't block port 53, which is DNS. You can get out on port 53. Now, if you're clever, and sometimes I can be accused of being clever, what you could do is configure your VPN to run on port 53 and then force all your traffic down the VPN tunnel. So that means I could be sat at Heathrow Airport, I could connect to my VPN over port 53, and I can go and have my internet connection here at home. Now, if I was doing application control on port 53, I would be able to identify that that is not DNS traffic, and I would be able to block it. So that's just one example of why you need to assign application control to all of your outbound traffic. Now, again, there's two ways of doing it. You could go through all of your rules one at a time and just ticking it like so. But the quickest way, I think, to do it is through the subscription services menu again, back into your application control under policies. And what I simply do is Control A. Now, at this point, I could hold down Control and untick any rules I don't want this to be applied to, but I'm being lazy today. And I just assign my template like so, global. And when I click OK, you'll see this column here in the background change from none to global. So now every single policy on my firewall has that application control template assigned to it. And that is very, very important that you do that. Something else to also think about is remember with some of these rules that you can schedule rules to run at different times of day. So where I was pretty harsh and I made Facebook read only, what I could do now is go and create another template. So let's just add a new one, and I shall call this one lunchtime, where in here I'm going to let Facebook have a bit more access. So I will let the guys now go on Facebook, but perhaps I will do away with the Facebook. There we go, transfer. So they can do everything they want on Facebook at lunchtime if I assign this to a lunchtime policy, but they won't still be able to send any files through Facebook. So they can use it to post, like, whatever they want, Messenger, but no file transfer. And again, I'll do the same for things like Skype. And then I would go ahead and I would assign this template to a policy which is scheduled to run at lunchtimes. It's as easy as that. So that is application control. As I said, I think it's a pretty easy to use tool, but it is very, very powerful, and you can have a lot of fun with it, especially by, as I say, blocking the transfer on things like BitTorrent. There's something else I'm going to show you just before we finish up here as well with the application control. So let's go back to this template here. Select by category. Now I showed you that we can simply drop things. If you go ahead and check out some of my other videos that I've done, I show you how to configure traffic management, which is where you can do bandwidth shaping. In other words, you can do maximum bandwidth on applications. And it's in here where I can say allow drop, or I can select some of my traffic management templates. Let me quickly show you what those look like. We are digressing slightly, but I want to show you these, traffic management. So I've got a whole bunch of traffic management here. I've called this one streaming media, and it says you can have 2 meg maximum, 1 meg minimum guaranteed, 50 users. 50 users get 2 meg each. I've done something similar here for, let's say, YouTube. 1 meg, 1 kilobyte, 20 users. So each user gets 1 meg on YouTube. Now what I could do is I can now go back to my applications like this. Select by category. I have a streaming media category down here, and I'm going to choose to give it the streaming media traffic management template I just created. So now whatever streaming media application you go to, it will be allowed, but you will only get 2 megabytes a second maximum, like so. If I search for YouTube, you will see it's already being allowed by category, and I've applied the streaming media traffic management application template to it. But if I edit this, what I can do, in fact, I just change that to allow, is I can now say, don't use that one, use my YouTube traffic management. So YouTube gets 1 meg, every other streaming media application gets 2 meg, like so. So not only can we allow or block applications, we can also control the bandwidth of these applications as well. So again, I could be cruel with BitTorrent. I could allow file transfer, but perhaps I'll only do 1 kilobyte a second. So I'll make it very painful to use. Food for thought. There you go. Well, that's application control. I hope you found that useful. Something else I'm just going to finish off with every video that I do, I upload it to my YouTube channel. So give me 10-15 minutes and you're going to see this uploaded. Where are we now? I just need to learn how to use YouTube. There we go. So you're going to see all of my videos being uploaded to YouTube, including the traffic management one. And something else to consider as well is the HTTPS inspection. I showed you how to do application control. Bear in mind, most of these applications we're looking at, Facebook, whatever it is, are all using HTTPS. So if we can't see it, you can't control it. So you will need to make sure you are using HTTPS inspection for the application control to work. So yeah, so make sure you come visit this channel. So it's just youtube.com/WatchGuard UK. That'll take you straight to this channel, and every week I upload a new video showing you how to configure a certain module. So this video will be uploaded very shortly. Next week, tune in same time next week, and I will be going through how to configure the HTTP proxy, including web blocker, in great detail. That video will probably run for about 20 minutes, half an hour, but make sure you tune in same time next week. Guys, thank you very much for your time, and I will speak to you again real soon.